Let's now shift our focus to the business community and hear some perspectives from them. We have another fireside chat. This time we're featuring Carmine de Sibio. He is Global Chairman and CEO of EY. That's one of the largest professional services organizations operating in 150 countries. Carmine's recent tenure has been focused on building EY's global innovation and technology integration. Hosting the chat is the CEO and chair of EY Japan, and he's a USJC Council leader, Moriaki Kida. In addition to his responsibilities at EY, Kida-san is a committed and visible DE&I leader, and he's been recognized as a LGBT+ executive role model. So please welcome me in joining to the stage Carmine and Kida-san. They'll discuss U.S.-Japan relations in the context of global business and innovation.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm going to read a little bit from my script so that I won't forget the important points. But I'm really honored to be here, Carmine, and to have you here with me to chat. We've worked for about 1/3 of your long 38 years at EY, long ago that I probably wasn't born yet. But Carmine and I met actually that long ago, but supporting a Japanese gala that was happening in New York with Gomi-san, I think, who is also in this room. Hi, Gomi-san. And so Carmine has been historically really supportive of businesses between Japan and the United States. So welcome, Carmine.
It's great to be here, Maury, and thank you, and thanks for having us here. It's great to be here at the council. I'm a big fan of Japan, as you know. We're actually going to have our global board meeting in March in Tokyo, and I'm excited to be there. It might be a little early for cherry blossoms.
But less expensive.
But less expensive, that's true, that's true. I was saying to the organizers that this meeting should be during cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. It'd be very symbolic, but maybe it's too expensive.
All right. So let me just jump into one of several topics, which is really an important one, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you know, when I first started working at EY almost 30 years ago and seeing that most of the leaders at EY were white males in New York, that perspective, that scenery has changed a lot. And under your leadership at the EY, that's also changed because you've established our global DE&I steering committee. And after the George Floyd incident, you've also spearheaded the Global Social Equity Task Force. EY has different geographies. We have the global organization, but we also have 3 different areas: Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, India, and then we also have Americas. And in all of these, you also have appointed an LGBT leader. Obviously, women, gender is an important one. You've also been part of the starting up of the Caroline's Valuable 500 yeah. As well. So, but you know, just looking at you, I wouldn't necessarily feel that you would be the first person I would have come when I was 22 to be supporting DE&I. So can you tell me about why you've really made that into the focus of your business?
Yeah, so let me start with my own little personal story, Maury, that of course you know. You know, we talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. And while maybe I'm a white male, so maybe I'm not diverse, but the inclusiveness part is very personal to me. My family immigrated to the United States when I was 3 years old from Italy. We moved to a suburb of New York. I learned the English language through school. You know, it was in my early years, I'm not sure I felt included all the time. Now this is, in the 70s, or even earlier in the 70s mostly. And so times were different, but I knew and I know what it feels like when you feel like you're an outsider or you're not included. And today I joke about it, but back then it was serious. It would impact almost everything I do. I had parents who didn't speak English. I didn't even speak English at the beginning, but I learned. And stupid little things like lunch. I remember vividly, I would bring my lunch, and my lunch would be, and this is comical now, would be prosciutto and mozzarella, okay? Everyone else's lunch would be bologna and cheese. And I was looked at as an outsider, and people would be like, yuck, look at your lunch. Now today it'd be the opposite. But it's a stupid little story, but it actually is about inclusiveness. And so, so I know what it felt like. I went to a great university where most people there were white and wealthy. I wasn't poor, but I wasn't wealthy. And so even there at the beginning, my freshman year, I felt a bit not included. Then I, accommodated for that. But so it's personal to me, the inclusion part as well. But when I look at it overall, also, Maury, look, we have 400,000 people in 150 countries. So if we're going to attract the best talent, we have to make sure that DE&I is at the top of the list. Because otherwise, we're going to be cutting out some of the best talent. And that's across the board. That's not only skin color or ethnic background, LGBTQ+, all around, as you know. And so I thought it was important that we as an organization are leaders around this. You mentioned the Global Diversity Task Force. That for us is 50 of our leaders around the world. We get together virtually every 6 weeks or so, and physically 1 or 2 times a year. And we talk about what does the organization need to do to make sure we stay as leaders in this area. And it's worked out really well for us. Not only have we been celebrated for it, but I feel like we've gotten the best talent for it. And it is very different than when you started in the New York office versus where we are today.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think growing up in the Japanese American community in Los Angeles and hearing the previous generations, or just even 10, 15 years older generation that had difficulties getting a place to rent, and then also learning about the history. I mean, I think many people in the audience could understand what being an outsider is and how we feel so included in this group today. So
tell your story about yourself in Japan.
No, I don't think so.
See,
this is about you.
He has this scripted thing, and I told him that we're not going to go down this scripted thing. If you're not going to tell it, then I'm going to.
He is very well known to go off for a script.
So if you're not going to tell it, I'm going to tell it. So you have a choice.
You can tell it.
You want me to tell it? Mori is our leader in Japan. He's openly gay. And when I approached him in terms of moving to Japan, he was nervous about it. He has a partner who obviously would go with him, and his partner looks nothing like him, and so he was nervous about all of this, and it took some convincing for Mori to A, go to Japan, and then B, be our leader in Japan, and I want to just applaud you for doing this. It makes a big difference in terms of DE&I, period. And we're all very proud of you. So I'm going to.
Thank you. Thank you. I did say I had 3 conditions to move to Japan, although it was really 2 plus 1. One was that my dog can go with me. The second one was that my 1,000-pound piano, grand piano, could go. And he said fine. And the third one was my husband, which you also said it was okay. So that worked out well.
We decided to pay very little, but all those things we said yes.
So I want to next lead to our kind of main topic, but Japan's leadership in the area of sustainability and AI. And as a business leader that obviously has 400,000 people, but are in so many places around the world, I wanted to see if you can share a little bit about sustainability and AI, what you see, what you're hearing.
Yeah, so first of all, I do think Japan has taken the leadership role here, and I applaud Japan for really following the ISSB standards. I think that's important. But you know, look, all our business, all our clients today, sustainability is part of what they do. So this is not, you know, some topic that's, you know, a hot topic. It's part of what they do. So if we're talking about supply chains, if we're talking about, you know, how they serve their customers, all that, sustainability is built in. Now, what I'm seeing today is it's more built in Europe than maybe elsewhere. The Europeans obviously are very passionate about it, and there's regulations that have been already put in place. The EU has standards, the ISSB has standards. We at EY really support the ISSB standards. We think that they're the global standards, and frankly, everything else should be based off the ISSB standards. I know some of you out there would be frustrated that we're going to end up with either 3 or 4 standards versus one globally. And trust me, we worked very hard as a profession and frankly as corporates in general to try to get to that, but we couldn't. And same as GAAP and IFRS and Japanese GAAP, the disclosures around sustainability is going to be something similar to that kind of model. I am hoping that the SEC, I met with one of the commissioners this morning, that they get out their standard as well, because I think the sooner this all happens, the better. Now, I do think companies are evaluating where they are. Energy companies are going through a transition. I do think there needs to be a transition. And so what I do worry about is that in the last, you know, because the economy isn't doing as well, I do worry that the US has slowed a bit in terms of sustainability. It's certainly not a hot topic with CEOs as much as it was a year ago. But if I was sitting here with my peers, they would say, oh no, that's because we're already doing it and so forth. But you know, it's a focus. It has to make economic sense. Certainly there's been government subsidies to help. But now you are seeing where government subsidies have not been put in place for the right reasons, you're seeing some companies suffer in terms of alternative energy. One of the Danish companies just pulled out of building wind farms on the east coast of the United States because they couldn't make it economically work. Because once the subsidies aren't there, they couldn't do it. So I think government and corporations are learning on how to really interact together. I think it's incredibly important that they go hand in hand, because I do think there's a place for government to push sustainability. And you're seeing this in terms of EVs, in terms of charging infrastructure and so forth. The IRA Act here in the US was a big push towards sustainability. And so, and I think Japan, you know, I applaud Japan for everything that the Japanese companies are doing, but there's always more we can do. This is all going to be talked about at COP28. That's a big event in Dubai in a few weeks, where government and the private sector will both be there. And we're hoping that we have some more commitments. And, you know, we are kind of past the commitment stage. We have to make sure that we're actioning what we committed to. We at EY, as you know, Maury, we committed to being neutral, you know, by 2025, and we are on pace on that. But for us, it's easier. Most of our emissions are air travel, and because of technology, we've reduced our air travel from 2019. So, you know, so that should help.
Yeah. So at EY, not only do I have a dollar value limit on my travel expenses, but I also have to look after my CO2 emission limit. So this is how we've been doing the carbon neutral. Thank you for that, Carmine. And I think, because of Japan's leadership in this role, or not because, but because of, Japan has always been a leader in this, because I think you can see it through the number of 100-plus-year-old companies that Japan has, which really is a testament to a sustainable business. And so I think in this terms too, if Japan can and USJC can continue to support the leadership of this role. The next topic I wanted to touch on is AI. It's a hot topic. Compared to technologies we had like blockchain, which really was accessible to a few people, generative AI has become so easily accessible to many people, but at the same time, it's not necessarily clear where we're going with it, how to regulate, how to develop kind of a common understanding and guiding principles. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to start by congratulating Japan, again, for being proactive here. The G7 meeting, which was, I think, last May in Japan, an AI code of conduct came out of that, AI principles came out of that. And I do think it's important that the G7 countries work together on AI. AI could be the best thing for generations. It could also be the worst things for generations. So maybe I'll start, Maury, with describing how we're dealing with AI at EY and get into that. So we look at it in three different areas. One is, how do we help our clients utilize AI today and better their businesses with AI, whether that means bettering their business from a revenue perspective or from an efficiency perspective. The second bucket is around how do we help our own business with AI and how do we help EY be better with AI. And the third bucket is how do we get all our people and all our leaders to make sure that AI is good, not bad. And let me describe each one a little bit. How we're working with clients, right now we're working with use cases with clients. We have like 350 use cases globally. They're all in different sectors. There's some in the pharma sector, healthcare, banking, and so we are working with our clients on things like efficiency. So one project we're working on is with a big bank, and that big bank, has financial advisors, and when a financial advisor sets up a meeting with you, typically they'll do a bunch of analysis, and they'll have a team of 15 people that do this, and so forth. With AI, they won't need 15 people. They'll probably need 3 or 4, and they'll be able to have the same information, same meeting with you. So that is already underway. That use case is actually well underway, and that's an efficiency play, and maybe also a play on getting better data to their customers. In the pharma area, we're doing more work around strategy and healthcare. I was at a dinner last night with one of the U.S. senators, and he said, in terms of AI, that if we use AI correctly, okay, he believes that with what's going on in the government labs in the U.S. and what's going on with pharma and healthcare companies, that he thinks most cancers will be cured in the next 5 years, which is an unbelievable statement. And this is a U.S. senator that's very plugged in. So there is a tremendous benefit, and we are helping all our clients around the different sectors capture that benefit. Now, from an EY perspective, we're also utilizing AI and generative AI in our business. We just really rolled out our entire strategy around AI. It's labeled EY.AI. One of the pieces around that is we've created our own large language model for EY. We call it EYQ. And all our people can ask any questions they need answered, and that large language model continues to learn. The backbone is open source. It's ChatGPT, open source, and it's through Microsoft. And so we have, like I mentioned, we have 400,000 people. 125,000 people utilize this in the first 2 days. And every day it's learning. And so for consultants, the sharing of knowledge like that is the dream. And so that should make us better and more efficient, just as one example. There are other solutions that will use it as well. And we are going to be a first wave user of Copilot. For those of you who don't use Microsoft, Copilot is their AI in terms of coding, and that's offered to certain companies in a first wave. But they're difficult negotiators. You have to sign up for a certain amount of them. But we think that's important as well. And the third area is around getting our people, our leaders around the world, working with government, working with companies to make sure that we are utilizing AI in a good way. So that means in particular countries, commissions, regulation. We want to make sure our people are really driving that in a good way. Because as you all know, there are things that can be very negative with AI. So that just gives you a little bit of a scale. This is not blockchain. This is massive. It's generational change, and we just have to make sure that we are set up correctly. I will tell you, this is my own view. I think the U.S. is leading here, but not by much. I think China's right behind. But I do think the U.S. is being smart on regulation and non-regulation. I'm afraid that Europe in general is going to over-regulate and is going to stifle even the good use of AI. That's my own personal view.
Thank you. And since the time is up, would you mind giving maybe a closing comment on Japan-U.S. relations and the business's role in this that USJC really spearheads?
Yeah, and I'm very passionate about this. I think U.S.-Japan relationships is incredibly important and is actually even more important today in a world that's frankly gone a little crazy than it ever was. I think the friendships and the relationships are incredibly important. And I think our government's relationship is important, as well as our business relationship is important. And I tell our people always that we have to operate our business globally, obviously, and we can't let geopolitics get in the way. We've got to continue to operate our business the way we do, but sometimes that's not easy. I think it's an opportunity for Japan right now to do more. I do think there's because of the West and the U.S. relationship with China, I think Japan becomes even more important to the U.S. and to the world, frankly. And that's everything from technology, large corporations, know-how, defense, all the above. So I'm happy to see so many people in the room, Maury. And I think what the U.S.-Japan Council does is incredibly important across both government as well as businesses. So, I'm excited about that.
Thank you very much. And thank you for staying on script pretty much. Thank you very much for indulging us with this time.
Thank you.